Saddle in. Let's get excited. Validations. Who can tell me what we mean when we say validations? Long.
To validate.
Let's try not to define things by themselves. All right.
Just like
yes.
It meets whatever parameters you set for that
Ah.
particular field or whatever.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. So essentially, we're trying to make sure that our requirements are met, right? Does anyone know what sanitization is, or sanitizing data would refer to?
It's like preventing hacking by preventing injections of scripts and stuff like that, so it makes the tags, changes them into something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at a more basic level, it means that we're changing something, right? We're changing some data. So maybe if we wanted to sanitize an email address that someone had given us, we might also turn it all into lowercase, right? If they give us a bunch of uppercase stuff or whatever. So basically, we're just going to be changing something, but we're not really going to be touching on that here. We're just going to be focusing on validation, okay? All right, so what I thought we would do is we could create just a basic little Django app, and inside that, we're going to have one model that we're going to validate against. And what I thought would be kind of fun to do is movies, right? Because everyone likes movies. Everyone probably has some favorite movie, something they like. So let's get VS Code going, and let's start a new project. Linda, what is the first step of the process to do that? Yeah, so before I even do that, though, what do I need to have going? Yeah, got to get that going, right? So let's go stacks, Python, lectures. Oh, no, not lectures. I want to go to environments, right? Yeah, maybe if I could spell that. All right, here we go. So we go to our environments. Let's do source, Django, then activate. Okay, I'll try to make this a little bigger. All right, that's pretty good. All right, cool. Now what, Jessica? Yeah. All right, so Python, let's go into lectures. We'll create. Okay, so how do we do that? What's the command? Is your name Jessica?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just playing. Totally messing with you. Django admin. Okay. Cool. So let's just call it validations demo. Okay. And then we want to code that, right, to open it up. Demo. All right. Got that. Back in my terminal here. Uh-oh, what happened to my environment? Disappeared. All right, so I got to do it again. Sucky. Well, they were two different VS Code windows. So yeah, now I've got to reactivate my environment. Then activate. All right. We're good again. All right, next step. Anthony.
Oh, now we could create the. Oh, you just created the. Oh, we gotta create the apps.
Yeah, so let's create that apps directory, right? So go make dir apps, and then I can even do it in one shot, right? I can CD right into there. All right, yeah, kind of cool.
Is that only through that?
I would imagine you could do it with these other terminals. I don't know though. All right. So does it work with the other terminals? Anyone know?
Oh, I mean, what other terminals are you going to use?
Like just a CMD or something like that?
Oh,
Would you be able to do it in one shot?
I don't know. You can use a semicolon instead of and then.
Oh.
That'll
Okay. Well, there you go. Cool. All right, so let's start an app. Brian. How do I do that? Okay, yeah, and that's one level out from where we are, right? Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah, it would be different from the project. So the other thing that we probably want to do is drop in that init.py file. All right, so let's just do touch init.py. Okay, cool.
Mine always makes it every time. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Either computer, Mac or PC, it always makes it.
All right.
But it's good practice.
No, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it's doing that for you because it's just kind of one of those things maybe I could forget about very easily. But it doesn't affect me if I don't create it online. I've never had any problems with that. So okay, cool. We got that going. What else do we need to do? I'm gonna call on Alex. What's next?
You gotta make it URLs in the apps. In the app.
Well, what if we register our app first, right? How about if we do that? Where do we need to register
Go to
that?
settings.
Okay. So go in here. Okay. Doop. Installed apps. Let's just add that guy here. Apps.me. All right. Cool. What do we want to do next? Baxter.
Let's see here. So we want to go into our apps level and create the URLs.
Okay. Well, probably first, maybe before we do that, why don't we do something in this main URLs one, right? Okay, cool. So what will we do in here?
All right, and here you want to take out the second line admin.
Yes, don't really need that, right? Don't really need this because we're not using our admin app right now. Okay, cool.
So you can just make a regular URL without the admin in it.
Cool. Just the root route, right?
Root route.
Okay. What am I going to put in here for the handler?
And handler, I believe it's going to be apps dot main. Actually, for the handler, yeah, apps dot main dot URL.
Okay, but we've been using a function in here, right, to kind of like wrap our other URLs file. What's the function that we've been using? Were you not using it in yours? I suppose maybe we wouldn't even have to, huh? Well, I mean, they're not using it here. Right?
Well, that's because they. I guess if you import your app,
Right.
maybe, then you don't need to use it.
Okay. Well, let's just stick to what we've been doing. I mean, we'll kind of get used to that way of doing it, right? Okay. So what's the function we typically bring in for this? Who wants to help Baxter out?
It's like apps dot name the project that you wrote.
Right, but we bring in a function to actually include, right?
And you need to import it.
Yeah, we do, right? So we should see some kind of a squiggly here if we try to use this apps.main.urls. Okay, and then if I roll over this, you see it's an undefined variable, right? So let's include it. Let's include. See what I did there? Okay. Great. So we got that. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. I think Baxter was saying we were going to go into the app and touch that URLs file. Linda, what do we need to do in there? Yeah, inside the actual, so we've got this apps folder, right? And inside there I have a main app now. However, that main app doesn't yet have a URLs file in it, right? So what do I need to do here? So let's create it, urls.py. And then inside there, I'm going to import the same thing that we were importing before. We're importing this function called URL, right? And then what do I need to create in here on line 3? Yeah. What's the name of that variable? little help, Jessica. So let's look. We have it here inside our outer, right? So it's this variable called URL patterns. So let's create that. And what type is this variable going to be? Yeah, or a list in Python, right? Okay, good. So we've got a URL here. We're probably going to have just a main index URL, and then we'll also have a form submission URL. Okay. So the pattern is going to be hat, and then we'll just put a $sign here, just saying that we end the pattern right there. And then we'll call this views.index. Do I have views yet? No, so I've got to get those as well, right? So from dot import views. What does that dot mean, Linda?
That means we're going into the folder.
Yeah, which one though?
The one we're inside our own folder.
So yeah, this is the same folder that we're in right now. That's where we're importing views from. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to use that for that, and then we're also going to have a URL to process a form submission, right? So let's just say process like that. Views.process. Okay. Do I have anything in my views.py yet? No, nothing yet, right? So what's next? Who wants to take us through the next step here?
This is when we create the functions for the job.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Michael, next.
What's the name of the function?
So we created two. We said we were going to use this one called index and another one called process.
So then you want to make one called process and one called index?
Correct. And then what are these guys going to take in? Oh, he's looking at old code. Tom,
You have the request?
we got to take in the request, right? Very good.
Can that be called anything?
Yes, it can. Yep. You can call that what you want. You can call it REQ if you want it.
So actually a question about this. When you do the import render, and I always just test right here to make sure everything's working. So I was just putting HTTP response.
Oh,
What does that
right,
do?
and then just returning
Printing
something to the
whatever,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But what is HTTP response? What does that mean?
What that means is we're just sending this directly back to the browser.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's all it is. You're just returning a string back. Okay. Cool. So inside my my index, what do you guys think I'm going to do in here?
You could render an HTML page.
Yeah, let's do that, right? So let's just say return render. What do I need to pass the render function? The request. Okay. And then what's the other argument I need to give it?
What's the name of the file that we're trying to open?
Right, the actual template, right? So let's say main/index.html. Do I have that? No, we don't have that yet. So maybe we ought to create this, right? Okay. What's next, Alex?
Create the static folder.
Static folder?
You want to create the, oh, not static, the template folder.
Yeah, we need a templates folder, right? Good. And then inside there, I'm going to create another, like a subfolder for this app, right? Index.html. Let's just get some stuff on the page there. Hello. Okay, good. All right, anything else we need to do? It looks like we also are going to need to just have this function here, this process function, as a stub for now. Okay, so let's just create that real quick. We'll say def process, oops, takes in request, pass. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Are we good enough to get stuff on the screen here? Pretty much, right? Anything gonna error out on us? All right. So how do I start the server? Yeah, we can cd out of this, right? And then we're gonna run what, Linda? Yeah, we've got to say Python first, right? Manage.py, run server.
So then the square feet go away for render since we have the HTML already.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? See, unfortunately, what's going on here is that VS Code doesn't know about our environment because it's outside somewhere else, right? And we haven't told it that we're using this specific environment, so it still thinks that those things are unavailable. No biggie though. As long as we're kind of aware of that, then we can keep moving forward. So localhost 8000. All right, we're in, right? Okay, cool. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to actually create a model for our movie class, right? Or our movie objects. Oops. Let me just close some of these guys out. Where am I going to do that? Models.py. Okay. So let's create this class called movie. Right? And what's that going to inherit from? Models dot model, right? Okay. So what fields do we want to have here? Probably a title, right? And what am I gonna put in here? What does title equal? Well, true, yeah, but what am I gonna set it equal to inside here in the class? So we'll say models dot char field. Do we want a max length on that? Oops. 50 characters, is that long enough?
There's some pretty long movie.
Yeah, true. All right. 255. All right then. Let's go all the way. All the way. Okay, so we also are going to have a description field, right? What kind of field do we want this to be? Yeah, I'm just going to make this a text field. Okay. What else do we want? The other thing I was thinking we could do here was a year. Does that sound good to you guys? Put the year. Okay, what kind of field should that be? Yeah, I'm thinking integer field on that guy.
Can you use like a date? Is there like a date field that one holds the year?
Yeah, there's a date field as well. Yeah, so we could do that. But I'm thinking like, since we're just going to be coming up with some stuff off the top of our heads, like we don't want to be looking up dates or whatever, right? Let's just keep it simple. All right, so we've got title, description, year. We're also going to want to have our timestamps, right? Timestamps. Okay, good deal. Now the question is, how are we going to do our validations? So the validations are partly going to happen inside this file here. Okay? And we're going to create another class that you guys haven't seen before. And this is going to be, we're going to call this our movie manager class. All right? So we'll say, get rid of this. I feel like we just took 5 steps back. No, I'm kidding. Who explained validations good? It's Kellis, right?
But it's setting whatever like parameters or limits that particular field. So there's like up to time of the movie, you can only have maximum, I guess, 255 characters. Right? So once you get kind of past 255 characters, it'll be like some type of response saying can't do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's create this movie manager class. So we'll say class movie manager. Does anyone know what this is going to inherit from? No.
Probably
Manager, right? Okay, cool. So what are we going to put inside this this movie manager for anyone who's done validation already? Help me along. I know some of you have done validation.
If statement.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have some if statements, right? But we also need to have a method. So what's our method going to be called? I mean, we can call it whatever we want. I can just say like this is a def basic validator. Okay. What do we want to take in with this method? You guys remember from OOP? What do we usually have to take in? Self, right? Okay. And then the other thing that we're going to take in is just going to be the post data. So this is the data that's coming in through the form, right? Okay. So what kinds of validations do we want? We've got the title, the description, and the year. Maybe we just make sure the title is required or that it has a certain number of characters at least, right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a dictionary called errors. So it's just this empty dictionary. And then we're going to kind of go through our different fields and make sure that our requirements are met. If they're not met, then what we're going to do is we're going to add a key value pair to this errors dictionary. Okay? So let's do some checks on the title. So if, how do I find out if, or how do I make sure that the title has something in it? Mark.
Kind of blanking out here.
Are you? Yeah. All right, who wants to help Mark? Tom.
We can check the length of the title.
Yeah, exactly. Good. So let's say if len of post data, and then the key that we want is just going to be title, right? If that's less than 1, then what we want to do again is we want to add to this errors dictionary, right? So we'll say errors title equals please enter a title, exclamation point. Okay, what if we want to enforce that it's at least, I don't know, 5 characters long? How would I do that? So here I'm saying, okay, if this part didn't get triggered, in other words, if we have something in the title field, now I want to check and just make sure that it's like a minimum length. So how would I do that? Well, we can basically do the same thing that we did up above, only this time we would say, so if we want it to be at least 5, we'd say if it's less than 6, then this would be triggered, right? And we'll say you didn't meet the requirements, it's too short. Okay, so same thing, so we'll say errors title equals please enter a title of at least 5 characters.
I'm not sure if it was 5.
Yes. I meant to do 5. Good point. All right. So let's keep going. Let's do the same type of thing with description, right? How long do we want the description to be?
Can I make it optional?
Yeah, we can, but you know, this is a validation, so let's not do that, right? Let's force this. All right, description.
It's 10 characters.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So if the description is less than 1, again, that means that our description was blank, right? So we'll say errors at description. Please provide a description. Okay. If the length was less than 10, oops, what do we want to say then? Less than 10. So we'll say there is a description. Please enter at least 10 characters for the description. Okay. Cool.
Is there like a recommended amount of these you would like you should do, or just kind of
As many as you have.
feel it, you know?
Yeah, so basically we want to make sure that whatever requirements we have for putting things in the database are met, right?
Yeah.
So if we had, it really just kind of depends on the project. And when you guys see the exam, you'll be given that information. So how much do you need to validate, right? It won't be like, oh, I don't know what to do here because, I could do 5 or I could do 8 or whatever. It'll tell you what that is. Okay. All right. So we still have year. How do we want to validate that? Do we want to have some validations on that?
Pass this year, as long as from when filming began to present.
Yeah. So when was the first film released?
I don't know.
I don't either. Let's just say, yeah. So if it's like earlier than 1900, we'll say no on that. So we'll say if post data. So I need to convert this to an integer, right? Post data year is less than 1900. Then we'll say errors at year equals, oops, please enter a year of 1900 or beyond. Okay. All right, so that's probably as in-depth as we need to get with this. So what do I want to do at the end of this function, you think? So I've got this errors dictionary. What was that? I think I heard you say it. You said it. Return it, right? Let's give it back. So whatever the calling code is gets this errors dictionary. Okay, cool. So we haven't yet created our process. Oh, Anthony, I see you have a question. Yes.
Sorry.
No worries.
So for the function that you created, are you overwriting the parent function, or is that brand new?
So this is a new class right here. Oh, you mean
You know how-
does the manager class already have a basic validator?
does it-
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if it has that built in.
okay, so you just came up with that name and overriding it.
Yeah, I mean, we could have called it something else, but yeah. All right. So the other thing that we need to do to actually tie these two things together is we need to use this thing called objects, which we've been seeing, right? So we'd see something like movie.objects and so forth. We're going to set this up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new instance of that movie manager class. Okay? Oops. Like that. Okay? So obviously this is overriding, right? Because normally we would have this objects attribute. Now we're overriding it with our movie manager instance, the instance of the movie manager. Okay, good. So one thing that we're going to need to do, and we'll just get this out of the way because we're going to have to do this, is obviously we need to migrate, right? All right. So let's take care of that. Okay, what are the steps I need to run here, Linda, to migrate our newly created models?
Just something about migrations.
Wait, say that one more time.
I'm not sure what it was, but it was like something
Okay.
about
Close. Michael?
Python main.py make migration. It should be in the right thing, in the right area. In the folder with manage.py.
Yeah. I'm just in the root of the project. Yeah, so we're good. All right, make migrations. Okay, so we created that model movie. Now what do we need to run?
Python main.py migrate.
Migrate. Okay, so our migrations are done. Cool. We can run it again. So let's say manage.py run server. Okay, we're up and running once again. So what we want to do is actually connect this to some kind of a form, right? All right, so let's go back to our index.html. We don't have a form on there yet. Let's create one. Form, boom. All right, what is our action going to be?
Was it main dot or no?
So here
You got a process.
we have process, right? Good. Method will be, yeah, typically we'll be doing posts. All right, and then I want to create some inputs here. So we're going to have a title. Now I've got group description. Actually, this is going to be, I'm going to make this a text area. Cool. And then we'll do an input group for the year, right? Year, whoops, I meant to make that a number. Okay, what do we need down here? I'm asking because I often forget to put them in there. We need a submit button, right? Okay. And then what's the other thing that we need? Because we're in Django and we're inside a form here, right? CSRF, right? CSRF. Okay. So I've got that. Cool. Let's just inside of our views, let's just print out the form data and then redirect for now, right? Okay, so in here, how am I gonna print the form data? Where do I get it from? Request.post. Okay, and then we'll just return a redirect to the index route. Oh, what's happening with redirect here? Not imported. So I need to do that. Redirect. Okay, good. So let's open up our terminal. Let's just submit something in there and make sure it's working the way we expect. Okay. Some title, some desk, 2000. Okay, so you guys can see here we did get our form data, so that's all good, right? All right, cool. So how are we gonna incorporate this this basic validator method that we've created? Anyone know? All right, first off, what do we need to bring into this file to be able to interact with our movies? Yeah, we need to bring that in, right? So let's say from .models import movie, right? Okay, cool. So when we receive this form submission, what we want to do is we want to take that submission data and run it through our validator. And then we're going to see, did the validator return any errors? So we can just check, is there any length to that errors dictionary? If there's something in there, that means there was an error, right? And that means we shouldn't go forward with the movie creation process. All right. So inside our process here, I'm just going to save a reference to the form data. I'm just going to say form equals request.post. Don't be alarmed by that. Okay. And then I'm going to run that basic validator method to see if it was good, right? So we'll say something like errors equals the result of running movie.objects.basicValidator. And then what do I have to pass into this? It's telling us right there. What do I need to give the basic validator? The post data. So that's the form data, right? Okay. And I just called it form up there, so I'll pass it in as form. Okay. So if question?
Sorry.
No? Okay. So if the length of the errors is greater than 0, that means that I had at least one error, right? So if length of errors is greater than 0, then what am I going to do? Here, we're gonna import something that you guys haven't seen yet, and I've created a snippet for this because I always forget where it comes from. So we're going to import this thing called messages, all right? And what messages are going to allow us to do, they're going to allow us to display something on the very next request, okay? And then basically the messages will go away. So if I want to just show some errors when I make my next request, I can use messages to do that, all right? So if we had some errors, what we want to do is we want to basically iterate through those errors. Do you guys remember how we can iterate through an object? Yeah, so how can we loop through an object, or not an object, a dictionary, sorry.
For error in error?
So that would give us the key, right? That would give us the name of the key. But I actually want the errors themselves.
There's value?
Yeah, so we could do something like that works, right? It gives us an actual, wait, does this give us a list? Now I'm kind of doubting myself. It does, right? All right. I don't want to mislead you guys, so let's just do it the other way. So we'll say for key value, or for key val, in errors dot items. Okay. Do you guys remember this way of kind of iterating through a dictionary? So it will give us the key in each key value pair. All right. So what we want to do for each one of those errors is we want to do messages dot error, and I pulled up the documentation on this too so you guys can glance at it quickly. So when we use messages, there are different types of messages that we can work with. Here are the ones that are default, that are built in. Let me make that bigger. So we've got debug messages, info messages, success, warning, error. We're going to use error here, right? Because the user made a boo-boo. All right, let's go messages.error. And then one thing that we need to pass in, as you can see here, we have to pass in the request itself. Okay, this is very important. So we'll go messages.error request, and then we want to pass in the actual value of the error, or val. Right? That's the value in the key value part in that errors dictionary. Okay, so we'll say val. And then what do we want to do after we've looped through those and we've sort of saved them all to these temporary messages?
Print the
Well, let's redirect them right now, right? Because we don't want to get to the part in the code where we're actually creating a new movie because we know that this one was invalid. So let's just return a redirect in here. Okay, so if I get past that, what does that mean?
Created a movie.
Yeah, that means that we should be able to create it, right? Because we've gotten this far, we didn't hit any errors, we're good to go, right? So how do we want to do that? You guys remember how we were creating these new objects inside the shell, the Django shell? Yeah, so it's movie.objects.create. Okay, and then I need to give it all these different attributes, right? So the title is going to be what? Title. Good. And I also have description equals form description. And then I've got year. So what do I need to do with the year? Every time I get back form data from the front end, what is it going to be in a number format, or is it going to be a string? It's going to be a string, right? So let's convert that, right? So we'll say int form year. Okay. Anything else I need to do there? Whoops. Meant to do that. So all we're doing is we're just creating the movie here because we got that far, we didn't get any errors, we're good to go. Then we redirect them, right?
Why is it giving you an error on the messages?
It's that old environment situation, remember? Yeah, we talked about that. Okay, cool. So we're good to actually create some movies here, right? Now, the other thing is, how do I display my error messages if the user messed up? Well, we're going to do it in a loop format, right? Okay, so how do we loop through things again? Tom?
You use the inject the ginger using the and4.
Yeah, so we'll say something like for message in messages. So messages are something that are going to be available to your templates automatically. It's not something that you need to pass along as context. So that's kind of nice. And then again, as Tom mentioned, we're going to do an end4 down here. Okay? And then inside there, what do I want to do? Linda. So I'm looping through my messages here.
Oh, we want to
So how do I do that? So let's say I just want that in a p tag. I want that message to actually show up in the template. How do I do it? Yeah, how many? What? Double, right? Okay. So I go message. Okay, and then we'll just style it up. We'll just do like a quick inline style here. Color red. All right. Let's try this out. So let's go back to our form here, and I'll just try to enter something in with nothing in it. Let's just
comparing string errors over your models.
You have to do the migration
no, it wasn't migrations at all.
all the way.
Wait.
Line
That was what I was just looking at, wasn't it?
up there.
Length of description. All right. We did call this description, right? Did I not say length? Oh, whoa, I see what happened. That was inside. I did it inside the parenthesis. Yikes. Yeah, it was like, and it was hard to see because it was. Yeah. Okay, so less than 1. Let's try that again. I guess it'd be easier if I did that, right? No, we actually don't have to migrate because what the migrations were doing is they were creating this stuff in the database for us. The actual validations part is not going to need to be migrated. All right, so let's try this one more time. Oops. Okay. Wow. Did I do the same thing in another spot? Invalid literal for int with base 10 on line 15? I probably did the same thing, huh? So the year was an invalid int? Because it was completely empty. Yeah, my bad. All right. Let's just put a year of 0. Okay. All right. That's a little better, right?
So angry.
Yeah, no, I made sure that we let the user know, we're not playing around here.
Please enter a title.
Yeah, exactly.
GL caps.
I'll capital H1.
Exactly. So notice that we had this little issue here. If we entered nothing inside the year field, we got an error there, right? Because it was trying to convert something that it was basically an empty string into an integer, and we had a problem there. How could we handle that?
If length of the year is less than something.
Yeah, that's one way. Sure. I was going to do like a try except block. So if we get an error here, so let's say try. Let me just move this out.
Oh, so is this an opportunity to sanitize data? To type an extra number?
Yeah, I guess it probably could be, but I was just thinking, okay, so if we have a problem here, in other words, if we can't coerce this year into a number, presumably either they entered nothing in there, or maybe they entered some letters or something like that, right?
Well, it's a number field.
So
But
what
I
if
guess
they put
if
in-
you
Yeah,
you
but
change the HTML.
true. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I can go inside here and just change this, right? So if I say no, I don't want this to be a number field, I can just come in here and go type text. I mean, users can be a nefarious bunch. So if I want to type in an F, how do we handle that? All right. So if that happens, let's just put an error for the year, something like, please enter an integer. All right, let's try that. So that worked. We got inside of our except block, right? Does anyone have any questions about what was going on here in this lines 15 and 18?
What's going on? Try and accept.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So what this means is I'm going to try to run this code inside the try part, okay? If something fails, then I'm going to end up inside my except block. That means that I can have some code that's going to handle a failure. Anyone else have any questions about that? Think of it as like basic if-else logic. Only this time the if part is just, I'm trying something. Let's see if it works. If it works, then I'm good. If it fails, then I'll end up in the else part. Right?
So the except block would run for any errors, even if it's not related to.
Correct. Yeah.
Could you make it like run the except block only for certain errors?
Yeah, we could probably make that a little bit more. I don't think we're going to, but if we want to look up try except in Python, Here's some info on W3 schools. Oops.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, finally. So finally, it's just like, okay, we've gotten past both these blocks, right? And we're automatically going to do something at the end. I don't see any information on how you get the exact type of the exception, so I'll look into that, and I'll post that up on Mattermost too. But there should be a way for us to actually find out what kind of an exception was it that we got, and then we can kind of react to that in a special way or whatever. All right.
Do these languages have words for different human languages? Like you said,
It's English.
it's always in English. So like if you speak Spanish or Indian or something, they
Ah.
have English keywords. Or is there like if, like the equivalent of those words?
Like, could we see Python that was completely turned into Spanish? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Like
Or do they
instead
just?
of
I'm just.
I've
wondering.
never seen it.
So it's all in English.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I don't know.
Oh,
It's also another interesting something that I've thought about, but no, I've never seen code
so like in Mexico,
written
for
in other
example,
languages like that, huh?
Right? So like in Mexico, do they have code in Spanish?
Again,
languages like that.
and I'd imagine you'd be able to get your actual text editor to do it for you, you know? So, but again, it's nothing that I've messed with just because I haven't needed to. But it could be something to look into. All right, so the only other thing that we're not really doing here is on this template, we're not yet displaying our movies, right? So let's display our movies, and then that'll be it. So let's just create like a table down here. Inside there, we'll have the T head, we'll have a T row, TH times 3, right? And then we'll go up a couple levels. We'll do a T body, T row, TD times 3, all right? And then we'll do title, description, year. Okay. So inside, how do I want to loop through these movies? Real quick, Kellis, tell me how to loop. So you know how to loop in Python though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's the same thing here, right? Okay, that's good. I like that. So let's go for movie in movies. By the way, does my template have access to movies yet? Not yet, right? We're going to have to rectify that in a minute. Okay, so if I come down here and I end my for loop, and for, what do I want to do inside these TDs here?
Movie title, description.
Yeah, so let's just do something like movie.title. And so again, we're in Django, so we need to do dot notation for these guys.
Are we doing titles for the
Yeah, we're just printing everything. I mean, obviously this isn't like a real great way of doing this, but we're just trying to get it on the screen, that's all. All right, so inside my views, what do I need to do to actually provide this to my template? Yeah, so let's go get it, right? So I could do something like this. If I want to just create my context dictionary on the spot, I can just go like this, movies. Oops, that needs to be quoted. Okay, and how do I get all my movies? Okay, movie.objects dot all, right? All right, so let's see if we're good on that. Okay, so we've got this empty table because we haven't created any movies, right? I'm gonna drop in El Camino because I just watched it the other day.
Oh, is it good?
I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like didn't knock, it didn't blow me away, but wow, you really didn't love it, huh? Jesse's Escape. Revisited. Okay, and that came out this year. Okay. Cool. What else do you guys want to add? Shrek? Some description here. When did that one come out? 2001? Okay. Alright, there we go. Anything else you guys want to add? Halloween, alright. Yeah, that's kind of fitting. Alright, another long description. When did that one come out, you think? 1978? Cool, man. What? A scary movie? Oh, you mean the actual movie called Scary Movie? Okay, yeah, we could do that too. Fair enough. Scary movie. I'm tired of descriptions. Okay, when do you think Scary Movie came out? 2005? Okay, cool. So here we go, validations. Let's have thumbs on you guys with validations. What did you think of this?
Question.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in a second. Tom, thumb. Yes.
I think I just sorry. Yeah. No, but I understand it though. Like after
Okay.
like the whole class thing, you get a better concept.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Pretty good. Down to the side. Up. Linda's to the side. Yeah, all right.
Right there.
I was hoping you'd be more up, Linda, because you've gone through this before, right? Right. Okay. Let's have clarifications.
I just
Anthony, I know you have.
Sorry,
I'll come back to you, Linda.
I
Go ahead.
just want to ask how did you do that on the HTML template where you did the table all in one line instead of
So that's Emmet autocomplete. Okay. So that's something I could post up a link in Mattermost for you guys on Emmet autocomplete. There's just learning like some of the basics of that would help you probably cruise through some of the HTML stuff. Yeah, so it's nice to know. All right. Clarifications on validations though. Anybody have any questions on what we were doing? Should we look at it again? Yeah, absolutely. So again, we created this movie manager class that inherits from models.manager. And then we created a basic validator method, which takes in self and also the post data, right?
sorry, what the post
Yes.
is what data is the stuff that's being posted.
Yeah, it's the data that came in through the form, right? Okay. So in each case, what we did is we just checked for our different condition, and then if that condition was triggered, we would set inside the errors dictionary a key for whatever that particular input was, and then the value would be how we wanted it to show in our template. What do we want to show the user when they failed this particular validation, right? Okay, and then all the way down here, we just returned out the actual errors dictionary. Then inside my views.py, we would take our form data and basically create this errors dictionary by passing the form data through our validator method. Okay? And then if we get a length of that errors dictionary of greater than 0, what do we know, Michael?
Then you get messages errors or messages.error.
Well, yeah, then that's what we do. But what do we know if the length of the errors dictionary was greater than 0?
Oh, then we had error.
That we had at least one. Yep, exactly. So then all we did, as he was saying, is that we just looped through all of those key value pairs in our errors dictionary. and then we set them using this messages framework that we have within Django, so that we'll have access to it on our next HTTP request. The next request, of course, being right back to the index, right? We bring them back to the index, and that's where we actually loop through the errors.
Question.
Yeah.
Probably
Mhm.
old days, but for the redirect where you have the // in quotations,
Mhm.
I'm obviously just starting. Well, not starting, but just got into it
Okay.
this weekend.
Yeah.
And isn't it supposed to be that up arrow in the? Why isn't it the up arrow and the $sign? For the
Because we're not matching a pattern here.
Okay.
You're thinking of the urls.py file where we have to match different route patterns.
Mhm.
Here we're just telling it, go to that specific route.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so then when we get to the template, then our looping through that is a very simple loop, which we're used to. We did a for message in messages. Messages are going to be available to our template. If that list is empty, then of course we won't even get inside this loop, right? Okay? And then all we did is we just output the actual message there inside the loop to show them all the different errors they had. Yes, Anthony.
Can you show the part where you put movies equal to objects?
Oh yeah, so when we're rendering just the index route up here, we needed to supply this context dictionary to the template, right? So that's our third argument here. I created a dictionary, and then inside there I set this key equal to movie.objects.all, so that gives me all the movies.
And with the models, you also set movies equal to objects.
Oh, I'm sorry. You meant like down here on line 30? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Then you have multiple models and managers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if I had a separate user class, I could also have a user manager that handled that.
Would they be in the same page or would it be in a different? Because wouldn't you have to set that objects equal to user class too? So then objects will be overridden again.
No. Objects are specific to this movie class, right?
Oh.
So then when we're inside the user class and we do objects equals user manager or something like that, it's not going to overwrite this one. It's going to overwrite the one in the user class. That's all.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good question. The process is going to be the same whether we're validating a user versus a movie or whatever. The validations might be a little bit different. How many characters do we need, or if we're doing email validation might be a little bit different. So we'll look at that tomorrow when we do login reg. Any other final questions? You guys all pretty good on this? Yeah? All right. Off to work.